Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. And welcome to new subscribers. I've gotten a few since the last time I recorded, and I'm sorry about missing last week. There were just things that happen sometimes. But I do try to put out a video every week about what we're playing or board game topics. Usually it's what we're playing. And my husband and I are casual weekend board gamers. He will not appear on any of these videos, though. That's just, he doesn't want to, and that is cool. But yeah, it's been kind of busy around here. But this weekend, we played board games all weekend long, both days. And we were sort of surrounded by or saturated in board games even when we weren't actually playing them. I will get to that in a minute. I'm trying to think if there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes, the tea today. Tea today is Brodies Scottish Breakfast. Very strong. I need it this morning. And if I look a bit frazzled and bedraggled and kind of damp, it's because I was gardening outside before I did this, and even though I did that early in the morning, it still got really hot, so I came in and basically just splashed cold water all over myself and got myself about more wet than I was from sweating, actually. So yeah, I'm just maybe just a little bit more. And I slapped on some fingernail polish and got it all over my fingers as well, because I was doing it really, really quickly because I wanted to sit down and make a video, and so it's like, and that's the kind of video we're going to have, apparently. But this past weekend, one of my all-time favorite board game channels, and actually this is probably a lot of people's favorite board game channels, Watch It Played, had a board game weekend in PEI, Prince Edward Island, which is where Rodney Smith, the founder of the channel, lives. And they gathered the entire crew, the people who make videos for that channel, as well as Rodney, who does the how to play videos, which are excellent. I mean, if you can find one of his videos for the game you want to learn, there's no better way to learn the game. Unless it would be Monique and Naveen, who do Before You Play. And they have how to play a teach and playthrough of games, and they also provide playthroughs of games for the Watch It Played channel. So that's a neat little bit of synergy there. But they gathered the whole Watch It Played crew in Prince Edward Island for a weekend of board gaming, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. It was several hours each day. And last year they only did it for one day, and they gathered at Paula's house in West Coast, like LA region, and did it for one full day, and that was a blast. You can like go back through their channel and watch the one from last year. You can see why I was like really happy they were doing it again this year. But this year it was 2 days. And so what we did last year is I cast the stream, the live stream, onto the living room TV, and we had that on while we played board games, and then we would like kind of go into the living room and watch, because the dining room is kind of half open to the living room. There's like a long counter area, which used to be like a raised bar thing, but it's actually now a flat slab because of the kitchen redo that goes between the kitchen, kind of divides the kitchen and the dining room. So we can just look in there and look at the TV. And I use Chromecast to cast stuff onto the TV, but I think there's other services that do the same thing. But we cast it onto the TV again this year, like starting Saturday morning, and we watched, the beginning of that. And then we came in here and we started playing games. The games we played this weekend, not counting Numsters, which I played just in little bits and pieces, like in little odd moments. And I did manage to win with the number 7, which is what I had been trying to do. So I've now won with numbers 1 through 7, for those of you who are keeping count and who are Button Shy fans. But the games we played, not counting Numsters, were Carcassonne, Tic-Tac-Toe, Village Rails, Silver Bullet and Silver Amulet, Milliborns, Botnik. I don't think I missed anything there. And that doesn't sound like a lot of games, but we played multiple ones, and you're going like, wow, that's really light. But you got to understand, we were also listening to and watching what was going on just in the next room on the screen with, it was basically like playing board games with another table that was very loud and raucous and having a lot of fun in the next room, you know. So it had, the entire house was kind of, well, it's not a big house, admittedly, was kind of filled with that whole board gamey sound and vibe for the whole weekend. So I will put a link below to the stream, which is probably now just like a regular video for day 1 and day 2 on the Watch It Played channel. And also on Saturday, I had ordered Village Rails, and it came in on Saturday, and I wanted to play that, though learning to play a new game while watching other people play totally different games is not like a great way to do it. So we had to figure out a way to fit Village Rails in this weekend, because it was delivered on Saturday. So what we did is, after the stream on Saturday, then we watched Monique and Naveen's teach and playthrough on the Before You Play channel, and then early Sunday morning we played Village Rails. I'll get to that in a minute. We made a fundamental mistake, not exactly in gameplay, but just in the decision to play the game when we did, shall we say. But I'm going to have a link to the teach for Village Rails below, and for both days of this year's stream for Watch It Played, for the party and PEI as they're calling it. And I will leave it to you to dig in the Watch It Played archives for last year's one-day stream. But it was a huge amount of fun watching them. And they played some games I was familiar with and some games that I had never heard of before. And their games actually affected what we played, because I didn't really plan this out ahead of time. I basically just started like grabbing games and playing with the idea that we were going to play stuff that was going to be fast, light, easy. We knew well, things that were not going to cause us to have brain freeze or really just require us to put a huge amount of concentration, like, okay, let's see, I move here and he does that, and then, but I will not be able to play that card on the next turn. You know, it's like, we're not going to play games where we had to sit there and like calculate out our next move and go like, So we tried to keep it with games that we were very familiar with and that we could play with only kind of half of our attention, because our attention was also watching the games in the next room. And when we would take a break from our games, we would go in there and like sit and watch a whole playthrough of some game, you know, as it was being played. We'd like wander into the living room and sit down with a cup of tea or a snack or lunch or whatever. And they also had really nice stuff that they played during the intermission, stuff from their Patreon, which looked quite good. So anyhow, on the first day, we started off with Carcassonne, which is my husband's favorite game. And because, again, we wanted to keep it, to make sure that this was something that we could do without really paying attention, we only played with the Abbott and River expansions on the base game. We didn't roll in any of the other expansions that we like. Oh, my fingernails are dry now. They're not sticking to me. That's nice. Anyhow, so we played that for the first game that we played. And then we played Tic-Tac-KO, which we had played a couple of games before, but only one day before, like a few weekends back. This time, the previous games, we only played with the numbers, and it was a fun game, kind of a two-person head-to-head battler, though they call it a team game, and I'm going like, no, this is a two-person game. It's like, this is really a two-person game with a team variation, but they've got it set up in the rule book as, this is a team game with a two-person variation. It's like, no, it's two-person game. But, so we played that, and it has a grid that has numbers on it, but around two edges it also has letters, so that when you pull out a card of your secret objective, You can play it the simpler version, simpler, that just uses the letters on the grid, or you can use like the shaded, the numbers on the grid, or you could use the shaded letter areas. And this time we played with the letters, and it was much better. This I will definitely say, if you have this game and you're just playing it with numbers and you're thinking like, this is like kind of frustrating, it's better if you play with the full grid using letters and numbers. Because when we played with just the numbers, we kept hitting gridlock. And also when we played a displacer card, like quite frequently, he would play a displacer card on me and displace one of my cards to a spot I was really happy to go to, or I would play a displacer card on him and displace his card to a spot he really wanted to go to. So with the expanded playing area, we did not have gridlock, and not once did we displace a card to a favorable spot. Now, I'm not saying that you're not ever going to have gridlock on the expanded grid, or not ever going to displace a card to someplace that your opponent really wanted it to go anyway. That's definitely still a possibility, but it's less likely when you're playing with the full board because you just have more slots as options. And we played... Also that first day, we hadn't intended to play Silver Amulet and Silver Bullet. We also pulled out Silver Dagger. I've got it on the table over there. I don't have it pulled forward here. This is Tic-Tac-K-O that I just talked about. Yeah. Oh, yes. Now it's right side up. And I have done that before. It's like holding it upside down. So, yeah, I have to check on that. That's Tic-Tac-K-O. And... I'm sure everybody is familiar with the Silver series. You can mix and match the cards between different boxes. But we only played Dagger and Amulet. We just ran out of time to play Coin on that particular day. Or actually, I think we took a lunch break after that, or we did something else. But the reason why that got slotted in, we hadn't intended to play it, is because they were playing Scram, which is another game by Bezier Games. And it made us want to play Silver. Watching them play Scram, it just got us thinking about Silver, because there are certain things about the mechanics that are kind of common to a number of Bezier games, hidden information and that kind of thing. So I don't know, we were looking at that and we're going, oh, we haven't played Silver in a while. Let's pull out Silver and play it. So, and it's like, we do this, we play Silver a whole lot, and then it's like, okay, we've played Silver for a while, we're going to play other things now. And then it's like we kind of forget just how much fun the game is and how much we love it. And it's like something reminds us of it. We pull it out and then we just binge Silver again. You know, it's just one of those kind of games. And I've made other videos where I talked about it a little bit more extensively. But yeah, we played Amulet, which is the first Silver game. Am I holding it right side up? Yep, Amulet, which is the first. Bullet, which I think may be the second in the series, and then there's Silver Dagger. And because we had started playing Silver Saturday and everything, we just went ahead and ordered Coin, which is the only one in the series that we don't have, because we're just going like, oh wow, I've forgotten how much I really like this game. So yeah, we did that. And there were other things like games that they played that reminded us of other games and things. One thing I noticed, they played That's Not a Hat. And that was one I was only kind of half following because we were playing games here. And it's like we're doing this and I'm going like, yeah. You know, but there were aspects of That's Not a Hat. And I kind of wandered into the room a couple of times that kind of reminded me of the kids' game Telephone. You know, where you whisper in somebody's ear and then they tell the next person what they think you said, and they tell the next person, and then it goes all the way around in the circle back to the original person. And the word is never like anywhere near the word that you originally said. And that's what makes it hilarious. But there are aspects of That's Not a Hat that kind of reminded me of that. Because only it's a memory game. It's the misinformation comes from misremembering, and also from things being passed between players. So they're passing things around and they have to basically remember who has what or where certain things are, where certain words are and things like that. And so there were just aspects of it that kind of reminded me of telephone, because they're going like, no, it's like, that's not, and it's going like, I don't remember seeing that before. It's like, so it was really fun. And and that's why I'm talking up that stream so much. They had so much fun playing all of these games that even if you weren't doing your own game day sort of side by side with them as basically another table in the room, they were just having so much fun playing these games that you could literally just sit there and watch them play. Oh, and one game in particular you definitely want to, and I'll get to that in a minute. Well, actually, I suppose I could get to it now, but I want to talk a little bit more about the games that we actually played. I mentioned Carcassonne. I'm doing a Carcassonne reorg. And Robert is teasing me about this horribly because I got the folded space inserts, and since then I've been shifting things around because we have the big box as well as the base game, and then we got all of the expansions that are in print, the major expansions, and I have some of the mini expansions from the big box. So it's like I'm organizing it into the two boxes that the inserts come with for folded space. That sentence, the inserts come with. Okay, right. Folded space comes with inserts for the base game box and one expansion box, and it will hold all the expansions. Except I've got some mini expansions. But also, I have the tower, and I don't take the tower apart. So, I don't take the tower apart. I just store tiles in it because this is what we use every time we play. Though we're not usually playing with the tower expansion, we use this tower thing to dispense tiles. Yeah, I drop things in these videos. If you're new to these videos, things fall a lot. So yeah, this is the tower. See, it's a tile dispenser, and this is from Hills and Sheep. This is what you put the wolves in, also the sheep. And I've got some meeples up here. So what I did is I divided up the expansions between the three boxes, since I'm also using the tower box. And because I remembered, hey, I've got a second base game, because I started off with a base game, then I got the big box, which also has a base game. So I thought, okay, I've got three boxes here. I've got two base games. So that means that I can have a base game packed in with two of my little expansion sets. So I've got I think 3 expansions in the tower. The tower expansion is not one of them, plus the base game, and plus Abbott and River. And then in this box, I've got the base game and 4 expansions, plus Abbott and River 2, because the River 2 has tiles which can be used with inns and cathedrals, traders and builders, and princes and dragon. As a matter of fact, one of the river tiles has a volcano on it for Princess and Dragon. And I will kind of, if I can show you this insert. And see, that also means I have 2 scoreboards. And the scoreboards don't fit in the smaller boxes, which is a little annoying since I play out of one of the smaller boxes. See, this is kind of what the folded space insert looks like for the base game. Finger. Caught my finger into the box. And the box is actually kind of hefty. Anyhow, and this box, I just randomly chose Princess and Dragon box. Even though the Princess and Dragon isn't in here, it has all the other expansions that aren't in these other 2 boxes. These are the ones, like a lot of the mini expansions, these are the ones we don't play too often. So I've got all of those. And Carcassonne is one of those games that, particularly if you're just playing base game, River, and Abbott, which River and Abbott tends to be packaged with the base game, then you can like look at stuff that's going on and you can pay attention to other stuff. We also played over this weekend Milliborns. We played this on Sunday because this is very luck-driven card game from Robert's childhood. He picked this up. He's going like, oh, I remember this game from when I was a kid. And I like it too because sometimes you're just in the mood for a strongly luck-given game, you know, where it's just like your fate is in the hands of the cards and you're just like slapping them down and making the best decisions you can, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And this is a fun little game. And we both enjoy it a lot because we are not gamers that have problems with luck in games. I realize that luck in games is like one of those things that a lot of gamers just go, oh, I hate games that have luck. I want to be brilliant and it won't let me be brilliant. And I'm going like, oh, just get over yourself. But anyhow, Botnik, we played Botnik over the weekend. I believe Botnik was also one of those we played during the Sunday stream. This is a two-person tile laying game where you're like building out from a central board thing where you put the tiles on. This is a fun little game. It really, really is. It's just very, very enjoyable. You have to put a little thought into it, but it's okay. It's like really light. It can be kind of thinky if you really wanted to get very thinky on it, but still, there is a bit of luck to it because sometimes the tiles just don't fall right. I mean, in the second game we played, Robert and I are just going like, wow, that was just an amazingly bad run of tiles. It's like none of us were getting what we wanted and what we needed at the time we wanted and needed. I'm going like, I shuffled them. You saw me shuffle them. I really shuffled them. And as I said, we played Village Rails on Sunday. And that was early Sunday morning before the stream in the other room started. And the reason for this was new game. We didn't know how to play it. We watched the how to play video that Monique and Naveen did. We watched that the night before. We looked over the sheet, laid it out, and played it first thing on Sunday morning before the stream started. And that may have been a mistake. That may have been a wrong choice because we've noticed that if we play games late at night, we're more likely to make mistakes. Like the deeper into the evening we get, it's like we're casual weekend board gamers. And I kind of wonder if an evening game group would even work for us because we play so badly when we get tired, like at the end of a long day. But yeah, we have played some games on the evenings, and I would still say it's not as bad as early in the morning. And mind you, it wasn't that early. It was only about an hour before the stream started. But it's like we knew how to play the game. It's not difficult to learn. This is one of those games that is easy to learn, easy to teach, but is strategically and gameplay can be really kind of tricky to do it really well. So and it will play up to 4. It plays well with 2 because each person is building things out in their own little area, though you are competing for the trip cards and for the track cards that you're laying down. Kind of like a tile laying sort of feel. So you're competing with other players for those. So there is some player interaction because sometimes somebody's going to get the one that you really needed to really make that rail pay off for you. But you're basically building out in your own little space. It's kind of thinky and it's kind of tricky and it's difficult sometimes to do well, but it's like the first game we did pretty good, but it's like the second game, I don't know. The cards, and I don't know, maybe by then we were kind of keeping an eye on the clock for when the stream would start. We're just like looking there and I don't know, we just did not play the second game very well at all. Also, some of the trip cards we got were just not nearly as beneficial for what we were doing as some of the ones we did in the first game we played. And I kept making the same mistake over and over again. When you finish a line, you put down a terminus card. This game has public objectives and private objectives. The public objectives are the trip cards that you lay down and assign to different lines that you're building out. And when you complete one of those, then you use one of your private objective cards. You assign one of those, a terminus card, to that line. So, yeah, the terminus cards, the trip cards pay you off in points, and this comes with a little counter that you can keep track of your score. That's how you keep track of your score. So it comes with a little counter, see, that you put together, which I messed up putting together the first one I did. And you're thinking, like, how did you mess that up? And I'm going like, it was like early morning. Now, I think I did that the evening before. It's got little coins, and then there's these little pieces here that you snap together to make an upside down L shape for your frame that you're building out. These lines, or the boards, are labeled A through D, and the pieces you snap onto them are specific. They've got letters on the backside so that you build out quite specific boards with different starting areas for each one. And then there are the terminus cards, and these are what the these are double-sided. This is what some of the rail cards look like. And they've got symbols on the rails. That was a signal. This is a tractor, which says you get points for different types of lines. This has a barn with wheat, which means all wheat on the line will pay you off. The sidings, or the purple one up there, that it pays off at the end of the game in points. And there's like signals pay off when you finish up a line. But you need to have more than one, because their payoff thing is on a graph, which is on the player information board, and sidings are maybe payoff on sidings. Yeah, they're also on a grid there, but the rest of them is generally just a single point for whatever things you're adding up. And sometimes you just get a big chunk of points when you finish a line. But these cards are double-sided. The back side of the cards you use as the trip cards, which are the public objectives that you assign for. Am I holding this right side up? No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. So anyhow, that's just a quick little look at Village Rails. Monique and Naveen did a teach and playthrough of it, so you could get a really good idea of the game from that. And I will link that below. But when I put down a terminus card, for some reason, I kept counting it up as points. And so I'd do the points, or I was going no, that's your money. And I go okay, roll back the points, and then I get the money. And I'm going I don't have any money. And he's going because you didn't take money from the terminus card. So I roll back the points, and then I get the pounds, because it's British pounds is the currency in this game. And I roll back the points, and then I get the pounds. For some reason, I just do not know. I just could not get it through my head that I get points for the trip cards and pounds for. And I kept thinking, how come I don't have money to buy this? Oh, yes, I did not do that on my last turn. So I roll it back and do that again. So I have to say that the first couple of plays of this were much rougher than they should have been, because but this goes back to what we were saying. Robert and I are going wow, we were just not really optimizing our play on our boards at all. It was just we get to the end of the game, we're looking wow, that was a mess. Could we have scored any lower? So yeah, I think probably playing a new game first thing in the morning, early in the morning, this was the earliest we've probably ever played a board game, is not the way to go. Not for us anyway. Late at night and early in the morning is not great for us. But on the other hand, the gang over at Watch It Play, they hit the ground running early every morning. I guess it was early. There's a time differential there, because they are on an island in the North Sea. Not North Sea. Well, maybe, no, North Sea is on the other side of the pond. They are on an island in the Atlantic. North Atlantic. That's it. So we had a huge amount of fun. I've got my notebook here. Let me see if I missed telling you about any of the fun we had. I am still warm from gardening. Games played. Of the games that they played this year, last year when Watch It Played had their thing, there were two games I really liked. One was Ready, Set, Bet, which they had the game designer there calling the game for them, which was kind of cool. So that was a huge amount of fun. They kicked off the stream last year with that, and it was not quite out yet at that time. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you about the big game they played this time. So anyhow, I like that one, but I feel like you need the right group of people who are really going to throw themselves into it and just get into it and yell and do stuff. And yeah, I don't really feel like that's a good fit for the people I generally play games with. But the other one I liked was Dinosaur Tea Party. I love the artwork on that. And I got that specifically to play with the family because we would have enough players to do it, but we just haven't had a family game day. We literally have not had a family game day like at the dining room table. Like we play games at restaurants, but not a family game day at the dining room table since I bought it, so I still haven't played it. Actually, I have 2 party games on my unplayed game shelf that I've never had enough people together to play. So I liked a lot of the games they played this year, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get any of them. I didn't get Ready, Set, Bet because I felt like it wasn't a good fit for people I usually play with. I felt like Dinosaur Tea Party was a good fit for people I usually play with, but I'm not really playing with them much. So this year I'm not sure I'm going to get any of the games because party games just are not a good fit for us. We rarely have that many people together these days. Enough to really make the game work well. And there were some of these games that we were talking about, we're going like, yeah, this game plays really well with 6 because there were 6 of them. And I'm looking at that, I'm looking at the box and it says, and it plays like down to 3 players. And Rob and I are looking at each other and we're going like, no way is that game going to work with 3. That's going to be, no. There were some of the games that they played where we felt like that playing it with this player count of 6 was really, really good, but the player count on the box went down much lower than that, and we're looking at this and going like, yeah, that's not going to work. Not nearly as well anyway. It's like, yes, can you mechanically do this, but not the same thing. So I'm not sure I'm going to get any of these, but one that caught my eye that it was one they played Saturday that I don't know, there's just something about it. It was just a charming game, like the way it played. It was just really fun. It was called Soda Smugglers. And you've got to bribe guards to get your suitcases of soda through, or you can arrest other people for smuggling soda. If you think that the cards that they have face down has more than 1 bottle of soda in their unopened luggage, and you so it's hidden information, and you're kind of trying to guess and figure out what people have and when to call them on it, and it was just a lot of fun. And of all the games they played, for some reason, I don't know, the gameplay of that just felt really neat to me. I think that I would really click with that, even more so than the other games. And one game they played, I had not mentioned yet, was Zoo Vadis. That was on Sunday. We did not play while they played Zoo Vadis because I wanted to see how this game played. I have to say, right up front, I've been hearing about this game. It's not quite out yet. This is the game this year that's not quite out yet. It's a re-implementation of Quo Vadis, which is like about Roman senators negotiating and their place in the Senate or something like that. So, fairly dry theme. But this has been redone with a zoo theme, and the animals are running the zoo, and they are trying to work their way up in their status in the zoo. So there's a lot that is the same as that, but they have written out, they've changed the rules substantially to make it play better with somewhat lower player count, and they've made some other changes that I read about. You now have peacocks that will allow you to move forward if you don't have enough votes. And and there are now special player powers. And here's the interesting thing about this game. This game is a negotiation game. Make no mistake about that. This game is just purely a negotiation game. It's almost like the only reason the board is there is so you have something to negotiate over. But it's point-to-point movement, negotiation, and here's the interesting thing with this version. Special player powers, but these asymmetrical special player powers that each animal has, you cannot use your own powers. The player powers that you, the player, the animal, have must be used by other players. You take those player powers that you have and you say, well, I will let you use my special power if you do this for me in return. So there's all these cool player powers, but you can't use the one that you actually have. You have to use the ones that other people have, assuming you can strike a bargain with them. Now, for the stream of this, I highly urge you make a big bowl of popcorn. Big bowl of popcorn. That's what I did. I made a big bowl of popcorn, and I did not actually even realize at the time that this was going to be so entertaining. I just figured it was going to be long enough for me to eat a whole bowl of popcorn. Robert doesn't really care for popcorn, so I get the whole thing. So anyhow, make yourself a big bowl of popcorn, then watch the Watch It Play streamed of them playing Quo Vadis. Oh my goodness. It's chaos, but it's just like highly entertaining chaos. It's like everybody's going like, well, I will vote for you this, like, but you could use my talent. But no, but would you give me that? No, but I'm saying that if I could move this peacock, and then there was the big discussion over moving the zookeeper. Oh my goodness. It was crazy. Like Matthew at one point pointed out that he was so far the only person who had kept all of his promises, and he had not broken any promises. Like, you can trust me. And Monique drove a very hard bargain. She was very uncompromising in some of her negotiations. And Naveen at one point, he's like going like, I'm for sale. It's like, make me an offer. You can buy me. And then it's like, oh gosh, Paula. At one point, I think Paula's voice went up to a pitch only my dogs could hear. But it was just amazing and everything. And there's Rodney. Yes, dear, sweet, and gentle Rodney of the Watch It Play channel going, fight, 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 fight. And just the fact that at any point during this game, you have Rodney sitting there chanting, fight, 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 pretty much tells you everything you need to know about how this game went. It was like everybody was talking over it, and you could see people whispering. It's like, while the main negotiation was going on, people were like kind of making side deals with each other that were not the active player at the time, but it was hilarious. Oh man. It was really something else, but it's a negotiation game. It has point-to-point movement and asymmetric player powers, which the player with that specific power can't use. Your power can only be used by other players. Other players' powers can be used by you, assuming you can strike a bargain. Oh my goodness. I think Matthew won that one. But it was hilarious. Like I said, that was one of the most entertaining playthroughs that they did over the weekend. It was just, oh man. But I highly recommend watching both days of the playthroughs. And if you want to have your own little like game day where you do this thing where you set up games on the table and you cast the stream to TV or maybe a large tablet or something like that, so that you've got like a second table of people playing games. It was just a huge amount of fun, and I'm really glad that they put in the time and the effort to organize another one of these game days. It was a lot of fun watching it, because we would just take breaks between our games and go in there and sit and watch and laugh and go like, oh no, it's like, oh, she shouldn't have done that. And it's like, oh my gosh, did they just, and I'm going like, oh, and it's like, no, don't do that, don't, yes. But it was a huge amount of fun just watching, and you could tell they were having a blast. And we had a blast playing our games, but I will say that if you do intend to do this thing where you stream their game days, their live stream game days, and they did this last year and they're doing it again this year, so you've actually got on tap three days worth of games. If you decide you want to do this, choose games from your collection that you can play without thinking about too much. The light games, the fast games, games where you can just like, you have enough times between the games, like the games go quickly enough that you can take a break and go in there and sit and watch a game and then come back in and play a little bit more. And games where you're just not going to be too upset if you miss something in your gameplay because you were looking at the screen elsewhere. But I'd like to thank the Watch It Play crew for giving us a really fun weekend of board games. All day Saturday, all day Sunday. And like the Watch It Play crew, we had pizza Sunday night. It's been good sitting around the table talking about games with you. And I'll see you next time around the table. Bye.